This June, TrueFire invites you to an extraordinary journey into the world of music with our Guitar Heroes and Legends promotion. Join us as we celebrate iconic guitarists who have shaped the landscape of music across the globe. For the entire month, immerse yourself in an electrifying series of insights, inspirations, and exclusive guitar lessons taught by TrueFire's very own legendary educators. Get unprecedented access to the techniques, styles, and secrets that have ignited stages and stirred souls. Whether you're a beginner looking for guidance or an experienced guitarist seeking deeper understanding, this is your unique opportunity to learn from the best in the business. This celebration of music and mastery will not only educate, but inspire you to find your unique sound and perhaps become a legend of your own. Kenny Burrell is a highly respected jazz guitarist known for his impeccable phrasing, beautiful tone, and bluesy sensibility. His ability to create captivating melodies and his skillful chord voicings have made him a true master of his craft. Burrell's contributions to jazz guitar and his timeless recordings have solidified his status as a legendary musician. Today's free lesson on Kenny Burrell is from Henry Johnson's Guitar Heroes course. Let's dig in.
Okay, so let's talk about Kenny Burrell. Kenny Burrell is a guitarist who I first heard when I was 13 or 14 years old. And it was because one of my friends had a recording of Jimmy Smith playing the organ grinder swing. And the guitarist on that album was Kenny Burrell. At the time, I didn't know very much about him other than I love what I heard on the recordings. And as I started to search out Kenny Burrell's name in the record stores, I started finding all these amazing records that he did on his own. So he was a very famous artist in his own right. And so I immediately gravitated towards his style because he was very bluesy, and he could take very complicated things and make them simple. I specifically remember getting his album called Have Yourself a Soulful Little Christmas, where it was all these Christmas songs and done in these great arrangements, but basically it was a larger band with horns and strings on some of the things, with Kenny as the main focal point. And the way that he phrased melodies almost sounded voice-like to me. And all of these things that impacted me, one of the main things was that his chord melody always had like all these chord melodies. If I needed to learn a song or a standard or anything like that, I could always depend on Kenny to have already recorded it and got the correct melody and sometimes the verse even. So I started taking apart some of his chordal techniques. So when you have a chord that's maybe like a whole bar, where you're just playing 2, 3, 4, right? Kenny would always have an inner voice that he could switch to, so the chord would have another color to it, where it's like this. And just that shape, you could do so much with it, because if you were playing with your fingers, which I'm not really good at, but if you're playing with your fingers, you could have that voice come out. So that was the first thing that I learned, and as a teenager, I was really always interested in chords. So that was one thing that I took away like right away with chord melodies, and he would also do the same thing with a minor shape. If you play a minor chord like this, he'd have a voice moving in there. So those are the two things that I took away as a teenager, but it impressed me that he had all of these tools at his disposal. And one of the things that I like about Kenny Burrell is the way that he phrases, like we talked about before, the way that he phrases his blues, his techniques he uses to do that. He's like the only guitar player that I've ever heard that will take a blues lick like. He will take and go. Sometimes we use this, a slur, but in his early recordings, he actually, it has a different sound to it when you hear it done that way. And he also has a way to holding on to the notes to make them sing. He uses vibrato in his notes, and he even does it when it's fast. And it's a signature part of his sound is that legato holding kind of sound in his notes. Even when he has long chords, you hear the notes sustaining on the top. And I found out, I could actually make those notes have a little vibrato to them just by shaking my hand. So those are little things that I started with Kenny and then added some of my own things to that as well. The other thing is Kenny has the bop language under his command, but he mixes it in with the blues. And I find that most of the jazz masters, whether they play piano, whether they play guitar, whether they play saxophone, they always have what I call a 1-2 punch. There's always blues and then there's always bebop. And those two things together are emotionally driving. And so that's how my playing is shaped as well. So I try to, imitate those same type of things, and then through the imitation, I assimilate them, and they come out as my own self. The other thing about Kenny is he had the ability to play any kind of music, any style of music. So he's even on some of the early rock and roll records that most people don't even realize. There's two people who were the major guitar players on those rock and roll records, and that was Kenny Burrell and another guitarist by the name of Mickey Baker. They were the two that was around New York during that time in the 50s who would do all of those recording sessions then. So, needless to say, Kenny Burrell has influenced a lot of artists, and it doesn't matter where they're blues or they're rock or just jazz. His impact crosses all of the genres, just like Wes's does. So, without further ado, I like to do some of the things that I feel that Kenny influenced me to do.